Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are once again going to be talking about the Heartland Season 14 premiere because I don't think anyone is really over what happened in this episode. That being said, if you have not seen the Heartland Season 14 premiere and you do not want to know what happens, I highly suggest that you do not continue watching this video, as there will be spoilers in this video for the Season 14 premiere of Heartland. But with that being said, I wanted to address something before I start today's video. A lot of you guys have asked me why I put spoilers in my titles, and that is just because that a lot of my viewers who watch my channel have told me that they are okay with spoilers because they live outside of Canada, and because of that they have to wait a long time to watch the newer seasons of Heartland, or the newest season, in this case Heartland Season 14. So you guys have told me that you are okay with spoilers because you have to wait so long anyway that you just want to know what happens. That being said, I really want to know if you guys mind spoilers. So if you guys are annoyed by the fact that I basically spoil the video and spoil what happens in my video titles, please let me know so that way I can stop. But I'm just going by what you guys have told me in the past, and even more recently, about not caring about spoilers because people outside of Canada have to wait so long anyway. So please let me know if you guys are okay with spoilers in the titles of my videos, or if you want me to change them to not spoil the season in my video titles. That way it won't be spoiled by accident. So please let me know. I would really appreciate it, because I kind of don't know what you guys would rather me do, and I don't want to upset people. But then if people are fine with it, I would rather title my videos the way I always have been. But I want to do what you guys would rather, so please let me know. But anyway, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the main kind of storyline going forward with Heartland Season 14, because obviously in the Season 14 premiere of Heartland, we saw that, or the Heartland Season 14 premiere, we saw that Ty did in fact die within the first 2 minutes of the episode, and I was like, wow, that was quick. All right. But one of the main storylines going forward, I think, for Amy and for the rest of the Heartland characters that are involved with Heartland Season 14, is that of Amy being a single mother. And if you guys have not seen the interview from Amber Marshall talking about, Ty's death and talking about the emotional start to Season 14, I highly recommend you do. I will leave a link down in the description to her interview, and to that interview where she addresses Graham's departure from the show, and also just the storyline for Amy going forward. And a lot of people have said to me in the past 48 hours since those interviews have been released, and all the interviews from Graham and also Amber and the executive producers of Heartland. By the way, I suggest you go watch all of them, because it really, to me, shows how prepared they are going forward without Graham and with Graham's departure from the show. But a lot of people don't feel that way. They feel that these interviews that are coming out are just damage control and trying to salvage the Heartland viewership and make sure that the show does not die. In my opinion, that is not the case. When I watch these interviews, I see, oh wow, you guys actually have the next chapter of this show planned out, and you guys seem very confident in the storyline going forward, even though they do address the fact that Graham's departure from the show, they are aware, will affect a lot of people, because they have grown up with Amy and Ty. They've grown up with Ty as a character, myself included. I was 14 or 15, or maybe 16 years old when I started watching Heartland, and now I just turned 20 in January. So for me, I grew up with these characters as well, and I know that I'm not the only one, and they are aware of that as well. But one of the most interesting parts of the interview with Amber Marshall I found was how confident they are in this next chapter for Amy. as a character of her, being a single mom and having to rely on her family and more than she has in the previous seasons. And one of the most, interesting parts of the interview, at least for me when I was watching it, was how she addressed the fact that, you met Ty in season 1, episode 1. Even when Amy was dealing with the death of her mother back in season 1, she had Ty. He was kind of there as her emotional support, and he always has been. So he always has been there whenever she has needed anybody. But now, for the first time, he's not going to be there. So she's going to rely more on her family going forward in season 14. And also, it's going to provide character development for Amy because she's going to have to deal with being a single mom and also grieving the loss of Ty. And as a character, the character of Amy just grieves the loss of, her husband and someone who's always been there for her, obviously, because we met Ty back in season 1. And one thing I'm very, very excited about is Amber also said in that interview that, she's going to have to rely on Grandpa Jack and Lou a lot. And I'm very interested to see how the relationships of those characters are affected by this storyline. They're obviously going to have a stronger relationship going forward because of how much Amy is going to have to rely on Jack and apparently Lou going forward in season 14. And one of the highlights of Heartland season 14 episode 1, at least for me, was the scene with Jack and Amy. In that scene at the fishing cabin, you really saw that, Jack's been with Amy through everything. Jack has dealt with what Amy's going through, and I'm wondering if that is going to play into effect on their relationship and play into effect of how big of a role Jack is going to have helping Amy through this process, and as well as Lou, what her relationship with Amy, how it's going to be affected by this, and also just all the characters going forward. But one of the biggest storylines, I think, as I've said before, but I'll keep saying it again because I think it's important, is the character of Amy having to deal with being a single mom. And watching the interviews with the cast, that is a huge, at least that's what I'm gathering from watching the interviews, is that is a huge storyline for them. And that is the next chapter of Amy's life, is having to deal with being a single mom and, having to tell her daughter, your dad's not coming back. He's never going to be coming back. Having to explain that to Lindy, and, that is not an easy thing to explain to a little child, that their father is gone and he's never coming back. So all of these things are stuff that Amy as a character is going to have to deal with in this going forward with season 14. And Amber as an actor as well, I'm very, very excited to see how she portrays this storyline, because in my opinion, season 14 episode 1 was some of Amber's best acting on the entire show. And I think a lot of people agree with that. A lot of people were very amazed by Amber's acting performance and her performance as Amy in Heartland season 14 episode 1. And I think that speaks a lot to Amber's just acting talent. I mean, it was a very, very emotional season, and especially episode to shoot, and that's, all the cast are in agreement that this was one of the hardest seasons to film of Heartland this star. And even though yes, Ty did die, and that's a huge loss for the show, I really like how they're handling it, and I really like how we're getting the interviews from Amber and from Graham himself about why he has decided to depart from the show, and also the executive producers as well. You really see by watching those interviews, and that's why I highly recommend that you do. You really see how positive they are about the story going forward, and how they know that Ty's departure is going to affect the show greatly, but how they are very confident in the show going forward. And I think that says a lot, and I'm very excited to see the storyline unfold of Amy having to rely on her family and rely on Jack and Lou and probably Georgie as well. And I'm very, very excited to see going forward the next chapter of Amy's life, and also just the next chapter of Heartland in general. Ty's death is very sad, and it's going to affect the show. But I understand and support Graham's decision, and I think that we all need to realize that he's been on this show for the past 13 years. You know, if he wants to go off and pursue other projects, which he does, I think everyone needs to understand that and realize 13 years playing a character is a huge, huge thing. And I think we all need to be happy and grateful and thankful to Graham for giving us 13 years of the character of Ty, and, you know, playing that character and telling his story and everything like that. But going forward, I'm very excited to see Amy, you know, deal with the loss of her husband and also being a single mom and dealing with that. And I'm very, very curious to see how her work is affected by this. Is she going to pick up new clients? What's she gonna do with that? You know, what about Ty and Amy's business? What's gonna happen to that? Is Amy gonna continue it? Is she gonna find it too hard to work with horses the way she was without Ty there? Who knows? That's all questions that people are going to have to watch season 14 to know the answers to, and I'm very, very excited for season 14 going forward. Yes, this season is very different, but it's just the next chapter of the show, and I'm very excited to see what comes next for all characters involved, but especially Amy and Lindy, because, you know, Ty's death is going to affect them the most. Well, and Jack, I think that's something that people are kind of, you know, ignoring, is how it's going to affect Jack as a character, because we saw how close Jack was to Ty and how highly he thought of him. And just his character and how he's going to deal with that, because he said multiple times that Ty was like a son. So obviously this death is going to affect Jack as well, but it's going to affect all the characters, and I'm very, very interested to see the rest of the story unfold for season 14, unfortunately without Graham Wardle and the character of Ty Borden. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Are you excited to see this new chapter of Heartland? Are you going to give the writers a chance to tell us this story? I know that a lot of people are heartbroken and upset about Graham's departure, and you wish Ty didn't die. I understand, but I think it's also important to realize that TV shows change, stories change, and Heartland has always tried to be as realistic as possible. And one thing that Amber said in her interview, which I think is important, is that Heartland, again, has always tried to be very realistic, and people do lose loved ones, you know, before their time or too soon, and so that is something that happens. And so Heartland is just showing that on their show through the death of Ty, and then Amy as well, and then the rest of the characters. So it is just another chapter in Heartland's story, and I'm very excited to see what comes next for the characters, specifically, as I said, Amy and Lindy, and even Jack and Lou and Georgie, basically all the characters, because this is going to dramatically and drastically affect all the characters, I think, and just the overall story of Heartland in general. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.